Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome into the DFS Minute brought to you by DFSArmy.com, your one-stop shop for all things daily fantasy sports, all coaching, all tools, everything for one price. Coupon code CHOP earns a 20% off discount each and every month. Down there in the comments section, you can find that. And hopefully you decide to give us a try because we've got a tremendous track record of winning in every sport that we play. And what I'm going to do today is walk you through a little bit of entry-level research when it comes to NHL. I had a request from a VIP. I thought this was a great opportunity to get him started, kind of show him where I would look while I'm waiting for all of the other stuff to slowly start populating in throughout the day because we're getting into a 3-day break. We're getting into a lot of downtime for NHL, so I figured today we would end with a bang, and let's just kind of dive in on a full slate and see where we go. Of course, as always, we'll try and make this as quick as possible. The first thing I would do when I look at the research station in where NHL down here, research station, while I'm waiting for cheat sheets to populate, make sure it's today's date. And then I would start scrolling down. These are early start times, so I don't need that game, and I probably don't need the next game. I wish it would load a little bit faster. Probably don't need the next game. I come down here to Washington, and I'm looking for high implied team totals as just the tip of the iceberg, just kind of where I start. Vegas favorites and high implied totals. I'm looking for an implied total on a bigger slate of over 3.4 or 3.5. Those would be offenses I might key on. Then I would look for big odds that might be goalies that I look at. And these are just the general thoughts. This is what everybody looks at. This is what everybody sees. So this is obviously going to put you down a rather chalky path. That's okay. You can get off the chalk once you find where the chalk is going to be. You can decide whether or not you want it. Maybe you'll see something along the way that'll stand out to you, and you'll say, "Oh, look, Washington's in a great spot. They're all green, so they're not going to show up on a lot of people's radars tonight because they're going to prefer Boston or somebody else. So why don't I consider Washington tonight?" That's how you get a little bit lower owned, a little bit off the chalk. But big reminder, big slates ownership really gets spread out in hockey, so there really isn't going to be some massively dominant chalk 90% of the time. It's a whole bunch of 20% owned people, 25% owned people. So it's not hard to build a unique lineup tonight anyway. But if you do get lucky and you play in a giant GPP and you have that really, really low owned stack that goes off, that'll work. It'll definitely provide leverage for you. Like I said, I'm focused on 3.5 and above and bigger favorites, say over minus 150, something like that for a goalie. Doesn't mean I won't consider Boston tonight. It just means they're not going to pop right into my head right in the beginning. So as I scroll down, I'm not looking at skaters or anything just yet. I'm looking for just spots like Tampa Bay, good spot, minus 185, 3.8. Thank you. I will take that into consideration. Probably a good spot to start looking tonight when it comes down to it. Nothing necessarily in this game. 3.5, 185. Philly's going to be on the radar. So if you want, you can start writing these down. That's Tampa, Philly. These are the offenses that we're going to dive into a little bit. Probably won't dive into them too deep. Buffalo, probably not, but maybe. And I'll get into that in a second. 3.3 and a 150, really, really close for Nashville. I'll go ahead and write them down just because they're close. Probably nothing in this game here. And see, you can do this research really, really quickly. 3.4 and a 160, Chicago, for whatever reason, is popping over New Jersey. 3.2, probably not. Although you could argue, I mean, they could be as good as anybody. 3.1. So one of these teams could come out of nowhere and score 6 or 8 goals tonight and really light the world on fire. Who knows? Look at like a St. Louis 3.0 goals. I mean, but a lot of green. So, facing LA, you might look at them for GPP type stuff. I wouldn't say they're cash plays. So there's the 4 offenses that I wrote down: Tampa Bay, Philadelphia, Nashville, and Chicago. Okay. So what am I going to do? If I wanted to, I could go into one of those offenses just on this front page. Let me find one, whichever the first one is that I find. Okay, Chicago. I want to know on Chicago who's doing the producing. Okay, so I'll scroll over here to give us a little bit more room to watch. And I'll take a look at the top 2 lines. That's typically where all of your best scoring is. So I look at the top 2 lines, and I'm looking for last 5 games, last 10 games, this little bracket here. And I'm looking for, are they really producing? And, 54 shots on goal as a unit is okay. It's not great. That's why it's an exclamation point and not an X or a green check mark. Not scoring a lot of goals, not getting a lot of bang for their buck in the last 5 games. So again, okay. Odds are, when I look down here at line 2, that would be these guys here, and I see similar okay production, but a little bit more goals recently. then maybe I focus more here, especially on Patty Kane. 6 goals, 4 assists, 23 shots on goal. Probably going to be popular tonight. Everybody's going to see the 3.4 ITT. They're going to see the Vegas odds, the favored. They're going to be attacking New Jersey, who maybe isn't that great defensively or whatever. And who's most likely to do the scoring? Well, the guy who everybody knows, everybody recognizes, and is also running kind of hot right now. Boom, chalk play. Now, on a shorter slate, he'd be higher owned. On a larger slate, he won't be so highly owned that you absolutely have to have him to cash in, say, a 50-50 or a cash game. But if he goes off tonight and say scores some kind of a hat trick or something crazy, yeah, you'll see him in a lot of the GPP winning lineups. He will be that necessary, even if he's 20% owned. Okay? But my point is, you were looking for production in these offenses. That's kind of how you're going to start targeting lines, and then looking at the prices. And if I, pay down here because line 2 is cheaper than line 1 typically, where can I go grab a line 1? Start looking around. Things like that is kind of what you want to do in hockey as a very, very general sense. Okay? So, what else would I do? If I sifted through this page, I could also sift over to the skaters page. It's another fun trick I'll do, where I will scroll over to the right into this last 10 games section, and I will sort by whatever site I'm playing on. Let's say it's FanDuel. I'll sort by descending average points per game over the last 10 games. Once I get all of those, I see these names like Jack Eichel, Duclair, Scheifele, Aho, whatever, that are right up on the top of the list, and that's a good thing. These are players one-offs that I should probably be considering, or maybe somebody I can build a stack around, okay? But I will start with, say, defense, and I will start looking for, now that I know these guys are stacked up to the top in terms of points per game over the last 10 games or so, I'm going to start looking for out-of-place salaries. This is where I'm going to find my value. 66, 62, 73, 50, okay, 5,800. Come on, well, Makar's probably not playing. We're going to need to watch that. He's been hurt lately. Maybe he comes back tonight and that's why he's in here. Maybe it's a mistake. I don't really know. But what I know is with these 2 red X's, he's probably not playing. But when I scroll down a little more, 4,700, Ryan Pulock. Now, New York Islanders not necessarily going to be a team I'm going to target. They're not one of the main teams that I wrote down. Doesn't mean I can't use a one-off in a defensive spot when the guy's running hot and he's cheap. Apparently, he's scoring like these $6,000 and $7,000 players, but he's only costing me $4,700 tonight. There is built-in value in that. Again, very generic research, very superficial research, not real deep diving, but it's going to start giving me ideas of where I want to dig in and where I want to dive deeper, or where I want to ask some coaches for some help. Scroll down 5,300, Ryan Ellis, also a good spot. If we really like Nashville, I would include him in a stack in this type of situation, whereas I would keep Pulock probably as a one-off. And if you like paying down at defense, you might have your 2 defensemen right there in Ellis and Pulock, and then you can go afford some big skaters. If you like paying up at defense, you probably end up taking a guy like John Carlson, who's playing very, very well and running hot, because that's going to force you to take value at the wings and at the center spot where everybody else is maybe paying up, and that's how you get a little different in your construction that way. It all depends on your personal style, what you see, what you believe gives you the best odds for success. And as you'll see, it really gets hockey runs pretty wide open. Even if somebody says, hey, this guy's a great play, it doesn't always pan out. In fact, it doesn't more times than it does. But we scroll this list and we can look for out of price, out of place guys. I can look at the wings only. 4,900, Anthony Duclair right at the top of the list. Why would I not play 4,900, who's the top scoring wing in terms of FanDuel points per game over the last 10 games? Why would I not just almost lock that guy in? Right? Maybe he's got a bad matchup. I don't care. He's producing. If I do the same thing over and over and over again, then I can study my process through the results over 5 slates, 10 slates, 20 slates, 30 slates. I talk about that a lot inside our Army as well. But I'm trying to build a track record so that then I can see where the holes in my process might be and how I can adjust those going forward. But it's going to start with something like this. When I see pretty darn good value up top that is absolutely outscoring $8,500, $7,200, and $7,100 players, for crying out loud, why am I not going to take the guy that's almost half price? Maybe I use him as a one-off. I'm probably not going to use an Ottawa stack. You see where I'm going with this? And then I can check my center spot too really quickly and get an idea. Okay, looks like I might want to pay up for an Eichel or a Scheifele tonight. Down here, down here, down here. And I got to get down here a good bit before I can get the Wheeler for some value down here to Taves for some value. Okay, Chicago's in a great spot tonight. We noticed that with a high ITT and a big favorite coming out of Vegas. And Taves is up here a little bit out of place in terms of pricing because there's expensive guys down here below him as well. So maybe he's somebody that we build a stack around and we stack up that top line or that top power play unit or whatever. These are just ideas. We get thoughts. Now, I don't see a dirt cheap guy until I get down here to Carl Soderberg. So if I'm really hurting for some value, I'm going to keep him in the back of my mind. And I might reach for some, my second center might be a deep value guy that's playing well lately. Okay, again, generic research. So once I'm done with this, I will jump over into our domination station optimizer. And I'm going to take off line 3 and line 4. Again, first run, what is the industry saying? What are the projections saying? Where should I be going? This is a trick I learned from Anthony over at Beat the Bookie, where he says the first thing I do to find my value is I take away line 3 and line 4. I only want lines 1 and 2. I'm going to run about 20 lineups. I'm going to throw in a couple of unique players. And I'm just going to run it. I'm just going to let it go. I'm going to let the projections work and all of that stuff. And I'm going to see where the optimizer is telling me I should be looking today. This doesn't mean these are the lineups I'm just going to run out there and put in tournaments. It means this is going to start giving me thoughts. I've already cruised the slate myself. I already am looking at Tampa Bay, Philadelphia, Nashville, Chicago for key spots. These are guys, the odds are on them to have a good game tonight. Of course, we're talking about a 60% chance to win. I mean, it's a glorified coin flip, but the odds are on them to have a good game. I need to find the spots in those offenses that are more likely to explode on a team that's more likely to explode. And while I'm running these lineups, while I figure that out, I come back here and I run the optimizer and start running the lineups and start seeing ownership-wise who's going to start popping as I get to 20 lineups or so that I can get guys with 80, 90, 100% exposure and understand that if I did this for 100 lineups, it would kind of turn out the same. The difference between 42% exposure and 46% exposure isn't much. So 20 lineups is a good baseline. It doesn't take as long as running 100 lineups. So I start getting okay, every optimizer is going to tell me Duclair. Smart. Patty Kane. Okay, we already picked those out. We already had an idea that those would be places we might land, right? Pionk is different than Pulak. Ranta at goal, Kadri, Eichel. These are guys that are going to be in the vast majority of our lineups if we're running optimizers blind. This is telling us to focus on some of these teams. Ottawa is only in there once, right? Chicago, I'm a little surprised they're only in there once. If I scroll this down a little bit, or if it lets me, there's another Chicago guy, well, Taves. We had Taves kind of pointed out. But when I go up and down this list, Arizona goalie, New York, there's Pulak. He's jumping up the list, taking over Pionk's place. So, okay, we were on the right spot there. Montreal, I'm looking for teams that are going to be highly repetitive. Montreal's got a couple of spots. I don't see any more Winnipeg. Colorado. Okay, so I'm looking for something that is kind of overwhelming, something that's really going to jump out at me. And while I let this finish up a little bit, it doesn't look like it's going to. It's going to be a little spread out. And this is what I was getting at when it comes to the rest of the industry. The industry can be all over the place with its projections and the way its optimizers and algorithms pick up on NHL lineups and which teams, which offenses you should key on. I already checked a couple of other competitors because that's what I do. And one of them was popping Buffalo and Chicago. Those were the two most popular stacks coming, or team exposures coming out of those optimizers when I ran them blind. Another one, completely different results, Tampa Bay and Nashville. So I'm going to take those into consideration, Buffalo, Chicago, Tampa Bay, Nashville. I'm going to look up here and say, okay, when I went looking personally through the research station and found the implied team totals, I found Tampa Bay and Nashville and Chicago. So if I found Tampa Bay, Nashville, and Chicago, and other optimizers around the industry were also indicating that, and then when I go looking down this list, if I start seeing some of those indicated on our own optimizer, there's multiple indicators pointing in the same direction. That gives me confidence to pursue that direction, understanding that this is the odds-on favorite. Again, it may not be a big favorite. We may be talking about a 60%, 40% type of coin flip situation, but it's at least pointing me in that direction. That tells me, that's also why, because there's no more than a 60%, 65% chance to win on any given game, glorified coin flips like I'm calling them, that's why volatility is so key in NHL. That's why you'd never hurt yourself if you just ditched all of the chalk and picked some obscure crap. I'm not talking about ultra crap, bottom of the barrel crap like stacking the LA Kings on a 10-game slate. I'm talking about some of the middling stuff that kind of has a chance, but nobody's going to be paying attention to because they're all paying attention to, Chicago tonight or Tampa Bay tonight or whatever. Instead, you say Boston or you say Philadelphia or you say whatever, and these guys end up going off, then you've got the world to yourself, and that's how you win your NHL GPPs. Hopefully all of this stuff is sinking in a little bit. As I scroll this list a little bit more, I'm going to go looking for Chicago guys. Only 2 of them, because I expected Chicago to be popping more. They're not. Buffalo, it's not a lot of Buffalo really popping on the ownership stuff either. This is fairly balanced. We saw Montreal, Winnipeg, Vegas. I mean, this is really pretty balanced. There's not some dominant 3 or 4 guys on the front page of the high ownership stuff where the optimizer is really steering me into. That tells me a couple of things. The other optimizers were very clear at who they were going to target. If those are popular optimizers around the industry, like a Fantasy Cruncher or a Roto Grinders or somebody that's a big site that a lot of people go to, then those might be places that I avoid going in a spot as volatile as hockey to say everybody's going to be on those. They're just going to click run lineups and then dump them into tournaments. They're going to be heavy on Buffalo. They're going to be heavy on Chicago, heavy on Tampa Bay, heavy on Nashville. I might avoid those 4 teams or lower my exposure to those 4 teams. And let's see what else. Let's see what else kicks in, because that's what I'm trying to figure out is where's the leverage? Where can I go? Where can my coaches go? What can I do, to talk to these guys and help point me in the right direction? So what I would tell you as a coach today in a review of this entire slate is I would say spread out. Don't worry about ownership and chalk. Understand that the ownership, if there is a lot, is probably going to be in the Buffalo, Tampa Bay, Chicago, Nashville direction. So consider lightening your exposure to those areas and picking up some other secondary play. I would definitely use value like a Duclair or a Patty Kane, even though he's on Chicago and everybody's going to be on him. That's probably still okay. I would look at a Pulak. I would look at some of these other guys that you found through the research station as guys that are producing up near the top of the league but are priced well below the expensive players around the league. I would use these thoughts to build some lineups, focus on stacking and correlating my lineups. I want at least pairs, a center and a wing on the top line or the second line, a defenseman and a center, something like that. Not necessarily a full 3 stack, certainly not a full 4 stack, because this optimizer today is telling me that I might want to spread myself out. So I'm going to spread myself out. I'm going to stack a little bit less today, hope that everybody else stacks really, really hard, hope that things come off a little bit flat, and that I cherry pick the goal out of here, the goal out of here, the goal out of here, the goal out of here. That would be my game plan because that's what my optimizer is telling me I should probably pursue. If you need questions like this answered, or you need more details on how to put these formulas together for yourself and think your way through a slate so that you're not so dependent on coaches. See, I can do all of this myself in 10, 15 minutes, and then I can turn around and then I can just watch the coaches the rest of the day and see if they agree with me or disagree with me. If they disagree with me, I'm going to ask them why. If they agree with me, then we're probably all on a good track. We're probably all on the same train track. And then I might even consider getting off of that if everybody's on the same thing because it's so obvious. But when we differ is when we learn, because that's when I can ask them questions about, hey, I see this. Why do you see that? And now we're fostering good quality conversation inside our coaching rooms where everybody's learning, because you're going to point something out to me as a coach a lot, honestly. I don't know everything. I just know how to get you started and get you pointed in the right direction for your research. And you should be using your own research, using these same types of methods, same types of workflows to turn around and come up with your own thoughts and then see if your thoughts are either verified and building your confidence, or if something else is coming up and then you're either on your own track, which can be great for tournaments, or you've got questions to ask about what am I missing, what am I not seeing, or is this still a solid thought? And then you can build your confidence that way and become a better player. That's what this is all about. Thanks for tuning in for 20 minutes. Thanks for watching. Hit the like and subscribe button down there at the bottom. Remember, down there in the comment section is the link to become a member if you want to do so, dfsarmy.com. This has been a DFS Minute. It's a longer one, but we're getting ready to head into a long Christmas break. So you guys, everybody have happy holidays, whatever it is that you celebrate. And we will hopefully talk to you guys on the other side of the break, and we'll start building bankroll to the new year. Thanks, guys. We'll talk to you soon.